This is not, and I am here to do things, I guess. Basically, I'm just here to talk about demo and PTR and things, and let's test some trinkets while I'm at it here. So, first and foremost, if you take a look and head over to, like, say, MMO Champion, or you head over to, like, Wowhead, and you scroll down, look at the Warlock changes, and, well, the only thing you see is really nothing, right? Especially for Demonology. I touched on this in the last video, and I said it's not really a big deal, and it still isn't a big deal at all. They changed Soul Harvest in this build to be still shitty. Still basically unusable, so that's a thing. What else are people freaking out about? They changed our 4-piece, so it's instead of having Called Dreadsuckers automatically trigger demonic empowerment, they changed it so that when you cast Called Dreadsuckers, you will gain a haste buff for 5 seconds. Now, I imagine both the haste buff and the duration of said buff will be fluctuating one way or another, either up or down, depending on how they actually finalize internal testing before they release it onto PTR, which I imagine will probably be fairly soon given all the tier changes that have been happening lately. So, this is a very good change. I have always been against this 4-piece, or the last iteration of that 4-piece, because it promoted even more boring gameplay, and people thought it would solve our woes of never having to, or always having to cast demonic empowerment, and that's really just not the case. Instead, you're still going to be casting demonic empowerment regardless of you having that 4-piece or not. So instead, we gain something that every time you cast Called Dreadstalkers, you gain a haste buff. And haste is our best stat by a very large margin. So, if you look back and you think about it, if you take a look here at, for example, this stat stick trinket, gives passive haste. That's cool. It's one of our best trinkets, actually, if you get it at a good item level, right? So the other trinket that's very good, which is similar, is Metronome. This doesn't have passive haste, but it has haste on proc. This is also one of our best trinkets. So what does that mean for a set bonus? That when you cast your highest damage per execute time, Called Dreadstalkers, you get a haste buff. This is good, people. Like, open your eyes for a second and realize you're still going to be casting demonic empowerment the same amount, with or without the old set bonus, and instead of still casting demonic empowerment regardless, you now get a haste buff every single time you cast Dreadstalkers. Which is going to be more often than it is now, considering our 2-piece is going to reset the cooldown. This is a good thing. Please stop freaking out. It's ridiculous that every time one tiny little thing changes, the whole world is exploding, and you guys just narrow your minds in on this one little tiny thing that's changed. Instead of getting quality of life that we don't really need, we actually get something in return that is beneficial to us. This is good. Enough of that, though. I've talked about this too much in the last few days, and now I'm on the PTR, looking at these trinkets, and thinking that I'm going to hate myself playing with them. So, this first trinket, Charm of the Rising Tide. While you remain stationary, you gain haste every 1 second, stacking up to 10 times, lasting 20 seconds. So we'll just use this, gives us haste, yeah, yada yada, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So if you move around, you keep the buff at the 6, so you stop moving. Every 1 second after that, you keep the buff going. So, I mean, that's pretty interesting, I guess. Like, you don't have, like, it's kind of bad if you pop it at the worst time, at a very inopportune time, right? so that you get like minimal stacks out of it. So obviously it's going to be a trinket that you use during a burn phase where you know you don't have to move for mechanic, or you know that you can at least get half of the, like at least 10 of 20 seconds out of it. This way it still gives you like 5,470 haste, right? Instead of giving you like 1,200 haste, or 12,000 haste rather. It's still, I would say, considerably good. The fact that it's on use is kind of like shitty, considering there's other trinkets in the raid that are also on use, and you can't use, well, you can use 2 unused trinkets at the same time, but not together, so that's kind of like whatever. So that'll be an interesting trinket to keep an eye on. Terror from below, I feel like is going to be useless. Ranged attacks and spells have a chance to summon a behemoth from the deep to deal damage amongst all enemies. So let's just go over to these imps over here. So I'm just going to cast... Let's just cast Demon Wrath here. Demon Wrath, Demon Wrath, Demon Wrath, Demon Wrath. Still casting Demon Wrath. Still casting Demon Wrath. Still casting Demon Wrath. I don't know if this is ever going to proc. This is not procking. This is making for a very interesting video. This can proc anytime now. This is technically my source of damage, so it should be proccing it. But it seems as though it might not be proccing it. Let's go through an entire mana bar here. Oh, there it is. Excellent. So it procced once there, it hit twice, so it hit 2 targets there. It procced on the very last oh, there's another proc. So it procced on the very furthest imp over there for some reason, even though it wasn't the one I was targeting. So it just seems to, if it's an AoE, just hit whatever it wants, basically, no rhyme or reason. So over 4 hits, it hit for 1.17 million damage. So about 300k per hit. Seems to proc probably on any spell that you cast, right? So don't really have many other spammy spells. Like you'll for sure know it's going to cast or proc off of Shadow Bolt. For sure. There's like no way that it won't. So that'll be a thing. It won't proc off of TKA because that's our pet casting it. Should proc off Doom, Hand of Gold, and the cast of Called Dreadsuckers, that should proc it too. I don't know if the hits for those abilities will proc it. I imagine it probably would. Let's see. It's hard to test this properly because, okay, let's see. Fear from below. Demon Wrath hit, and then, okay, so it procced off Demon Wrath there. So it's kind of hard to proc or test this actually, like based on actual procs or like pet attacks and stuff. Mostly because, yeah. Alright, so that's a trinket. I don't think it'll be useful, really. It'll find niche, possibly, in, like, farm. Similar to how Faramir finds niche in farm, so that'll be a thing. This trinket has versatility on it as base. Attacks and spells have a chance to conjure a Spear of Anguish. After 3 seconds, the spear launches towards its target, dealing damage through everything it passes. So let's just push this button. Let's just reset that real quick. Piercing Anguish. Oh, that hit hard. Holy shit. 500k for each hit there. Piercing. Where's Piercing Shadow? Oh, Piercing Anguish. Yeah, 500k a hit. Damn, that hits pretty hard. That could actually be fairly powerful with all the rest of your gear on. I could see that being pretty good. That'll be interesting. But it's, again, a directional AoE, so you have to be pretty good about your positioning in order for it to be maximum benefit. It's similar to, if you guys remember back in HFC, the Iskar trinket. It's very similar to that in terms of, like, pathing for it. So that's cool. There's another unused trinket with mastery on it, which might actually be pretty okay. Call upon a Spectre Owl. Does damage every 1 second for 20 seconds. Range attacks and spells against the same enemy have a chance to make the owl perform more damaging attacks. So that doesn't seem like a lot of damage. So every 1 second over 20 seconds, so that's 20 procs of 74k. That's 100 and, or 1 point, no. Yeah, 1 point something mil? Yeah. 1 point something mil, let's say. Let's say 73031 times 20. Yeah, 1.4 mil-ish, 1.5. So that's okay. I'm not even gonna bother testing that because it's like, yeah, it seems like it might be alright, I guess, but definitely not amazing. And then another unused trinket. So of 5 trinkets that are available to us, there are 3 with unused effects. It's kinda shitty. So deal damage over 12 seconds, so it's a dot. When this effect ends or the target dies, you gain crit for 12 seconds plus any time remaining on the effect. So if you use it immediately and the mob dies instantaneously, you get 24 or 23 seconds, let's say, of 3000 crit. That is not good. That is terrible, in fact. That is truly, truly awful. So of these 5 trinkets here, the only one that is going to be probably actually used is Charm of the Rising Tide. So this one will probably have a place. All the others are garbage. This one maybe, for pure single target. So this one for sure will have a place, along with Whispers still. So Whispers will still be relevant. Stat 6 will still be relevant. Metronome will still be relevant if you get them at high enough eye levels, of course. And then Charm of the Rising Tide. You can't really use both of these at the same time because they're both on-use effects, so that's shitty. So if you're forced to use 2 trinkets out of TOS, then you're going to be looking at probably using this one, Terror from Below, I would say. Terror from Below plus this one, which is, like, not great. In general, I'd say you're probably just going to end up using Charm of the Rising Tide and Whispers, but they have said that they believe TOS trinkets are overtuned and will be tuned in a later PTR patch. I don't think that these are overtuned whatsoever. I think they're actually fairly lackluster, and they misspoke. Given the fact that 3 of the 5 trinkets that are available to you are on use, and you actually can't use them together efficiently, is really, really bad. Like, really bad. So, yeah. If nothing else, you're going to probably be using Terror from Below and Charm of the Rising Tide. That's my early prediction. If you have to use 2 TOS trinkets. If not, then you'll be looking at using Whispers or Metronome or a Stat Stick. Any one of these 3 probably, plus Charm, and this one's going to be benched. There's only going to be 1 usable or desired trinket out of TOS, unless something changes. So that was another PTR video. This is a thing that I'll do maybe. Hope y'all enjoyed it, and just always remember not to rage whenever anything changes. You have to evaluate it from a standpoint of non-bias. So you have to look at it from the viewpoint of an overall scheme, not just, oh no, my QOL, my quality of life, or oh no, my damage was nerfed on this one ability, but my damage was buffed on this other one. Like, oh, they offset each other, so it doesn't actually matter in the long run. Oh no. Just stop freaking out, you guys. It's just that simple. Demo was not dead. Shut up.